Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to take some really dense, profound concepts, the kind usually kept for advanced seminars, and really pull out the core insights you need to maybe see reality a bit differently.
Yeah.
And today, we are definitely strapping in. It's a journey far beyond, let's say, conventional physics. We're diving deep into the Buddhist understanding of time, reality, consciousness, specifically looking at this framework of a five-dimensional universe.
It's a massive topic, really, because it fundamentally challenges how we usually think about time. You know, that it just flows in a straight line, or that our normal four-dimensional space-time is, well, all there is.
Right.
So our mission today, I guess, is to move past just being sort of swept along by time.
Okay.
And get into understanding the structure of reality that lets an enlightened being actually be time itself. Here's a pretty radical idea.
Okay, yeah, radical is the word. So let's ground this. We need a concrete example of where, the standard model just breaks down. And the place to start seems to be that famous story, right? Buddha Gautama recognizing his main disciple, Sariputra.
Exactly. That anecdote is foundational. It really is. Because it shows a kind of perception that's just, well, it's impossible within a standard 4D model. 4 dimensions. 3 of space, 1 of time.
So what happened? Remind us.
Well, the story goes, Gautama sees Sariputra walking down the road. Never met him before, apparently.
In this life, anyway.
Right, in this life, and boom, immediately appoints him chief disciple. Just like that.
Which understandably caused a stir.
Oh, yeah. Huge consternation among the disciples who'd been with him for years. Why this newcomer?
And Gautama's explanation is where things get weird, cosmologically speaking.
That's where it fractures open, yeah. He recognized Sariputra not based on anything in this current life, but because Sariputra had been a devoted follower of a much earlier Buddha, someone called Anomodasi.
And Anomodasi lived in a completely different cosmic age, a different eon.
A completely different, much, much earlier eon. We're talking vast stretches of time, incomprehensible spans.
Wow.
And back then, in that prior existence, Sariputra had apparently made a vow, a pledge, to become Gautama's chief disciple in a future life.
Okay, so it's not just remembering a past life, which is already pretty out there for conventional physics. What's the deeper problem here?
The deeper problem is the nature of these eons, these cosmic ages. In this Buddhist cosmology we're digging into, an eon isn't just a long time period. It's a distinct world system.
A whole universe.
A whole karmically organized system of 4D spacetime. And these systems, these eons, they don't just smoothly transition one into the next. They're not like chapters in the same book.
Okay, so how do they transition? This leads us to that key concept, right? The bifurcation point.
Exactly, the bifurcation point. That's crucial. So imagine an entire eon, this whole 4D universe, planets, stars, beings, the whole shebang. It reaches the end of its karmic rope, you could say.
Its organizational energy runs out.
Pretty much. The collective karma that sustained it is exhausted. And then it collapses. The whole 4D structure unwinds.
And it collapses to this bifurcation point.
Collapses into the bifurcation point. And this point is, well, it's critical to understand. It's dimensionless.
No size.
No size. No dimensions. It's also described as repelling. And most importantly, it's where 4D space-time completely ceases to exist.
Ceases, like stops entirely.
Entirely. Total non-existence of the 4D framework. It's a point of complete, non-reversible disorganization before the next 4D world system, the next eon, starts to form from, new karmic seeds.
Okay, hold on. If space-time completely ceases, if depth, width, height, and the flow of time just vanish at that point, then there's literally no conventional way to connect the two eons, is there? No 4D bridge, no wormhole, nothing in our usual toolkit.
Absolutely nothing. No immediate perceptual connection. You can't link an event in Anomodasi's collapsing eon, like Sariputra making his vow, to an event in Gautama's forming eon, like Gautama recognizing him on the road. They're separated by a zone of non-existence for 4D reality.
So the problem is absolute temporal disconnection. That's the paradox.
That's the core paradox. If these two distinct world systems are separated by a timeless point of collapse, how on earth could the Buddha perceive them simultaneously? How could he see a present instant from that ancient eon alongside the present instant of his current one?
It just doesn't compute in 4D.
Doesn't compute. Logically, the only way out of this contradiction is to say, okay, the Buddha's perception must operate somehow outside those 4D limits.
We need something more fundamental, a basis for reality that spans these collapses, that organizes time differently.
And that brings us precisely to the solution teased in the texts. the fifth dimension.
Also called ultimate reality.
Ultimate reality, or the clear light. In Sanskrit, the Dharmakaya. This is the non-conventional, you could say cross-dimensional foundation that sits underneath all these separate 4D systems.
And this is what allows the Sariputra paradox to make sense within this framework.
Exactly. It resolves perfectly once you introduce this fifth dimension.
Okay, so before we jump fully into the fifth dimension, let's properly define the world we usually inhabit. The boundaries of our conventional reality, what the sources call the conventional limits of 4D reality. This is samsara.
Right, samsara. Often translated as the cycle of suffering, which it is, experientially. But structurally, think of it as the reality defined by attachment, by making distinctions this versus that, and by these long-term karmic processes unfolding.
And it's fundamentally four-dimensional, our familiar three spatial dimensions plus time.
Plus time, which we perceive usually as this extended present moment that's just moving predictably. Past fades, future arrives.
And we operate under this, it feels incredibly real, this illusion that time is a constant, unbroken flow, like a river just carrying us along.
It's a powerful illusion. But according to this analysis, conventional time, when you look really closely, is actually fundamentally discontinuous.
Discontinuous? How so?
It's made up of these incredibly brief moments or instants. They appear, and then poof, they disappear instantly.
Like frames in a movie.
Kind of, yeah. But our consciousness, which the texts say is contaminated by karma and attachment, smooths it all over. It imposes this narrative of continuity, of a steady flow, onto what are actually discrete jumps. This constant appearing and disappearing act is the nature of the conventional world.
And these individual flickering instants somehow get bound together into these enormous cycles, the eons.
Exactly. An eon is a vast period, but it's defined karmically. It has a specific spatial organization, a beginning, a duration, and a definite end. And that end point is dictated by the collective karma of all the beings living within that particular system.
So when the karmic fuel runs out.
When the driving force is exhausted, the whole 4D structure space-time itself starts to unwind, dissolve, heading inevitably towards that ultimate boundary we talked about, the bifurcation point.
Let's just nail down that bifurcation point again, because it's such a radical idea. It's not just like a marker saying end of eon.
No, not at all. And it's not just a place where space gets really squeezed, like a black hole singularity, maybe. It's the total cessation of that 4D world system.
The whole operating system crashes.
That's a good analogy. It's like the server crashing, wiping the hard drive completely before rebooting with entirely new software, new architecture based on new karmic inputs.
And it's dimensionless, timeless, and repelling. What does repelling mean here?
Repelling means nothing 4D can actually occupy that point. It pushes away any conventional structure. It ensures that the space-time of Eon A and the space-time of Eon B are truly distinct world systems. They're in relative temporal motion to each other, but there's zero conventional continuity between them.
Okay. This really helps us critique that popular idea from Western physics, the block universe.
Ah, yes. The idea that all moments, past, present, future, are sort of fixed. They coexist simultaneously, frozen in one big 4D structure, like places on a map that's already drawn.
How does the Buddhist model challenge that?
Well, the block universe idea fails profoundly here. It might arguably describe the fixed arrangement of events within a single, stable eon. You could maybe say everything is predetermined relative to that system's coordinates. But if the entire 4D block the whole map, the whole structure collapses and ceases to exist at the bifurcation point.
Then the concept itself collapses.
Exactly. The block universe concept itself is subject to collapse. You can't have one single eternal fixed block if the block itself gets wiped and rebooted between eons.
Because the next block, the next eon, has to be a fresh creation. It's disconnected by that temporal vacuum.
Precisely. So the conventional view, whether you think of time as a line or as a fixed block, it's fundamentally limited. It just can't provide a mechanism to perceive or connect events across that timeless, dimensionless gap.
The path must lie outside 4D space-time.
It has to. We need a higher organizing principle, something that transcends the collapse and rebirth of these 4D chunks.
Which confirms, again, the necessity for this fifth dimension. Reality structure is clearly more complex than what we can figure out just by looking at one eon, one piece of the puzzle.
Right. So let's dive into that fifth dimension. The sources call it ultimate reality, the clear light, or the Dharmakaya.
Yeah.
What is this dimension? How is it structured?
Is it like another spatial dimension, like adding another coordinate?
Not really, no. It's described more as the absolute space of all phenomena. It's not just another location. It's the fundamental ground. the source from which space, time, matter, consciousness, everything arises.
The ultimate substrate.
You could say that. It's the unconditioned reality. It's not defined by attachments or distinctions. It's pure potential, maybe. And crucially, it's the basal foundation of all time across all world systems. There's a poetic phrase for it sometimes, flower springtime, the source of all temporal unfolding.
You used a really interesting word earlier. Effulgence. The texts say all eons, all these 4D worlds, are the effulgence of this single clear light. What does that mean, practically?
Effulgence basically means radiance, or shining forth, or arising from. Imagine like a single, incredibly powerful clear lamp. That's the clear light.
Okay.
Now imagine that light shining through lots of different colored lenses simultaneously. Each lens creates a specific pattern of light that's like a 4D world, an eon, with its own unique karmic rules, its own apparent flow of time.
So the lenses are distinct, they create different looking worlds?
But the light source behind them all is one single, unchanging, clear source. The clear light is that absolute continuous light that gives rise to all these seemingly discontinuous relative eons.
And crucially, our conventional 4D reality isn't like separate from this clear light, it's inside it somehow.
Exactly. The source material uses the word conterminous. It says conventional reality is conterminous with non-local and temporal ultimate reality.
Conterminous, meaning they share the same boundary, they touch.
Yeah, they exist together, occupy the same fundamental space. In a way, think back to that analogy I used before. The clear light is like pure, perfectly clear water.
Oh.
Conventional reality, samsara, is that same water, but it's temporarily muddied, clouded by the dirt of individual karma, fixed ideas, attachments.
Ah, I see. So the dirt doesn't change the fundamental nature of the water, it just obscures the clarity.
Precisely. The 4D world is inseparable from the 5D ground, but it's not identical to it because of these obscurations.
And it's this underlying non-local foundation, this clear water beneath the mud, that allows for the Buddha's crazy perception trick, the simultaneous knowing and domain crossing.
That's exactly it. A Buddha, having realized this clear light mind, isn't trapped in the muddy water anymore. They're operating from the level of the clear water itself.
So they can see through the mud of different eons.
They can simultaneously view the relative motion of present four-dimensional instants between and across separate eons. They aren't blocked by the bifurcation point because their awareness is grounded in the dimension that transcends that point. It's like standing on the riverbank versus being swept away by the current.
So back to Sariputra. When Gautama looked at him, he wasn't just accessing a memory file from a past life.
No, it's more profound. He was in that moment, simultaneously perceiving a present instant in that past eon, the moment Sariputra made the vow.
Wow.
Alongside the present instant of the current eon Sariputra walking down the road, he was seeing multiple realities unfolding now from the perspective of the clear light.
Okay, that's a lot to take in. Multiple presents simultaneously.
It's the key structural insight. And the mechanism, the sort of portal or connector that facilitates this domain crossing, is often discussed in terms of the bindu.
Bindu. B-I-N-D-U. What is that? Like a point particle or consciousness?
It's described as a dimensionless point, but not a point in space. It's a dimensionless point of the non-dimensional clear light radiance itself.
Okay.
Think of it as the penetrating seed of ultimate reality. It's said to penetrate all world systems, extending from the enlightened one's inner space, their realized Dharmakaya, their clear light mind, out into all the outer domains, all the different eons.
So it's like a connection point that exists outside of normal space-time but links everything?
In a way, yes. It's the point through which all these different local times, these different eons, are contained and accessed. It's almost like the aperture through which the clear light shines into manifestation.
So if a Buddha is, as the source says, instantiated or extended across all these unique space-times via this bindu,
then they aren't just a person existing in one 4D reality. An enlightened being is literally extended across all unique background-independent spacetimes. Their wisdom mind is the connective tissue. It's the absolute space that unifies all these apparently disconnected relative spaces.
making perception across eons possible.
Exactly. It allows them to perceive all these disconnected 4D systems, all these separate eons, not as separate, but as a single, unified, simultaneous field. The clear light isn't just a philosophical truth. It's a functioning medium that permits this kind of inter-eonic perception and communication.
Okay, we've established the fifth dimension, the clear light. It's the foundation. Now, the how. How does this dimension actually work to reconcile these temporal paradoxes? How does it connect the big picture of the cosmos with the inner world of someone practicing this?
Right. the practical application.
And the source material points us very clearly towards a specific system for this, the Kalachakra Tantra, the Wheel of Time, and its 3 synchronized wheels.
Yes, the Kalachakra Tantra provides the detailed blueprint, the operating manual, if you will, for integrating all this. It posits that reality, in its totality, is organized into 3 perfectly synchronized and mutually reflective wheels or cycles.
Okay, what are the 3 wheels?
First, there's the external Kalachakra. This is the outer world, the macrocosm.
So the universe.
Pretty much. The organization of the world system itself, the planets, stars, celestial cycles, the structure of the eons, the large-scale patterns of time as we observe them external.
Makes sense. Outer world. What's the second?
The second is the internal Kalachakra. This is the inner world, the microcosm, the organization of the individual being.
Body and mind.
Body, speech, and mind, yes, but with a very strong focus on the subtle energies. This is key in Tantra. We're talking about the chakras, the energy channels or nadis, and the subtle winds or life force energies called prana. These are seen as the carriers and shapers of our internal karma.
Okay, outer world, inner world. What's the third wheel? This must be the connector.
Exactly. The third is the alternative Kalachakra. This is the crucial bridge, the transformative wheel. Its function is to synchronously link the 5th dimension, the clear light reality, with both the internal and external conventional wheels.
Ah, so it's the interface.
It's the interface, the translation layer, the means by which a practitioner can actually shift their perspective, their operational basis, from the limited 4D world of samsara to the 5D reality of simultaneous clear light existence.
So the core practices in this Vajrayana path are essentially about visualizing, embodying this alternative Kalachakra structure.
That's a huge part of it, yes. Through specific yogic practices, visualizations, mantra recitation, the practitioner learns to generate and stabilize this alternative Kalachakra within their own subtle body.
And when someone like the Buddha fully realizes this, it grants that ability, right, to synchronously see eonically separated conventional events, like seeing Sariputra's past vow.
Yes. Because they are operating from the alternative Kalachakra, which bridges the dimensions. This leads directly to that fundamental principle we need to grasp: synchronous perception and mutual containment.
Okay, break that down. Synchronous perception.
Meaning seeing things happening at the same time, even if they're in different eons. When the Buddha perceives the 2 instances, Sariputra making the vow in the past eon, Sariputra walking on the road in the current eon, they are perceiving 2 simultaneous mutual arising present instants.
Mutual arising, they appear together.
They appear together because they fundamentally arise from the same single source, the clear light. They are 2 different expressions, 2 different instants of the same underlying reality.
Okay, now the second part. Mutual containment. This sounds big.
It is. This is maybe the most staggering implication. If all instants, everywhere, across all possible eons, are just radiances or expressions of that single basal clear light,
Yeah.
then the absolute crucial insight is that all of those instants are simultaneously mutually contained within any single instant.
Wait, say that again. Every instant contains every other instant.
Across all time and all eons, yes.
Yeah.
That specific instant of time you are experiencing right now, it's not just a point moving along a line. It's a nexus. It's a hologram in a sense.
So this moment contains the present of the previous universe and the next one.
According to this view, yes. It contains the present instant of the previous world system, the present instant of the world system before that, the present instant of the next one, and every other system, regardless of the 4D collapse that seems to separate them. The clear light, the 5th dimension, has essentially collapsed the temporal distance between them all.
Wow, okay. That completely rewrites our understanding of temporal causality. We're so trained, classical physics, common sense. The past causes the present causes the future. One direction only.
And the clear light view just dissolves that imposed linearity. It says when you realize this ultimate reality, all phenomena, the Buddhists call them dharmas, meaning events or things, are seen to interpenetrate, not just spatially, but temporally too.
So past, present, future, all kind of mesh together.
Interpenetrate into a single thought instant. That's a quote. And in that state, causality isn't a one-way street anymore.
You're saying the future can cause the present just as much as the past does.
Exactly. Efficient causation flows from the past, yes, but also from the present and from the future, all with equivalent force from the perspective of the clear light.
How does that work? Can you give an example?
Think about your own potential for enlightenment. According to this, that future potential isn't just a passive goal way off somewhere. It's an active, energetic force right now. It's pulling you forward. It can retroactively shape your present karma, influence your decisions now, allowing you to choose paths aligned with that future state.
So Sariputra's future achievement as chief disciple was somehow actively causing Gautama to recognize him in the present.
That's one way to understand it, yes. The future state was exerting a causal influence back onto the present moment, making the recognition possible. It's a completely different model of how time works.
This is, radically different from Western philosophy or physics, mostly. The enlightened being isn't just predicting the future, they're living in a state where all time is harmonized.
They realize what the texts call the simultaneous interpenetrative harmonization of unhindered mutual containment between all events in the three periods of time. That's the technical phrase.
Tichi.
Hey, yeah. But the ontological foundation, the actual lived experience for a Buddha, isn't this linear march forward. It's the direct realization of all moments across all eonic boundaries as one single, simultaneous, eternal now moment.
Every moment is equally real, equally present, equally causal.
Exactly. The illusion of past, present, and future as separate, sequential things is just a construct, a product of our contaminated, limited 4D perception.
Okay, so while a Buddha operates within this eternal, now simultaneous time, the rest of us, well, we're still largely operating within the conventional 4D world, and we're shaped by this huge architectural force called karma.
Right. And we really need to be clear about karma in this context. It's not just, a simple tally sheet of good deeds and bad deeds leading to reward or punishment later.
It's more fundamental.
Much more fundamental. It's described as a structural force in the universe, almost like gravity in physics. The collective force of karma, generated by all the beings who are destined to be born in a particular eon. That force literally dictates the entire configuration of that eon.
How so? What does it configure?
It's the force that can, it's the word used, meaning it brings together, binds, and defines the subtle elements. Wind, fire, earth, water, space. These aren't just physical substances, they're fundamental energies. Karma organizes these energies into the specific pattern of that world system.
So it's like the collective consciousness or karmic momentum actually designs the physics and the layout of that particular universe, organizes it into a kind of 3D mandala, a specific space-time pattern.
That's a very good way to put it, yes. Dynamic 3D mandala. And it's not a simple linear process. The texts describe it as a fractal flow.
Fractal, meaning complex, self-similar patterns.
Exactly. Karma itself is said to be carried by, or it rides upon, the subtle lines, the prana or life force energy within each individual being.
Okay, the internal Kalachakra stuff.
Right. And when sentient beings like us engage in conventional activities, thinking, speaking, acting, driven by intention, those activities stain these subtle winds. They leave an imprint.
Like coloring the wind.
Kind of. And these stained, subtle winds then carry and reshape that karma in this incredibly complex, recursive, fractal-like pattern. What you do internally affects the outer world, and the outer world affects your internal state.
So the inner universe and the outer universe aren't really separate.
Not at all. They constantly interpenetrate and shape each other. It's this continuous dance between the outer Kalachakra, the world, and the inner Kalachakra, the being.
Okay. This dualistic flow, inner and outer, leads us to the Buddhist view of the individual. It's not just one thing, is it? There are the three bodies, the kayas.
Correct. The individual isn't seen as monolithic. At the highest, most fundamental level, there's the Dharmakaya. That's ultimate reality itself, the clear light, the true unconditioned nature, our shared foundation.
The 5D level.
Essentially, yes. Then, mediating between that and the physical, there's the Samphokakaya. This is often translated as the enjoyment body or energy body.
And this is the subtle body, chakras and channels.
Exactly. It's comprised of that subtle energetic infrastructure. The chakras, the channels, not eyes, the subtle winds, prana. And the Sambhogakaya is absolutely crucial because it's the primary site for tantric practice. It's the bridge where transformation happens.
Connecting ultimate reality to, well, us, our physical form.
Which is the third body.
Yeah.
The Nirmangakaya. This is a manifestation body or physical body. The meat body, as some texts put it.
The one we usually identify with.
Right. It's the gross, impermanent, conventional body that seems to create and exist as an object within 4D reality. And a key source of suffering, according to thinkers like Dogen, is precisely our attachment to this manifest body and the deep-seated delusion that this individual self is somehow separate from time.
When really, as the source says, objects are time because they lack any non-temporal existence.
Exactly. We aren't just in time. We are time. We are continuously producing our own local, present, space-time instant through our actions and perceptions.
And this conventional world, this realm of suffering and attachment and apparent separation, it's structurally segmented, isn't it, into these states called bardos.
Yes, the concept of the bardo is key here. A bardo is defined technically as a specific duration of conventional time that's marked or characterized by contaminated consciousness.
Contaminated by karma and illusion.
All right. Each bardo has a clear beginning, a period of continuity, and a definite end. And within our conventional existence, the practitioner is essentially limited, confined by their particular world system's contaminated temporal veld.
Veld. That's a great word. It means like your own personal limited bubble of perception, your self-created reality tunnel.
That's a perfect way to put it. Our contaminated belt, shaped by our karma, dictates the scope of what we can perceive, what we experience as real, and how we interact with time. And this overall veld is broken down into segments.
The famous 6 bardos, what are they again?
Okay, you have the bardo of birth, which is basically this life, from birth to the start of dying. Then the bardo of dream, the bardo of meditation, specific states entered in practice. The bardo of dying, the process of death itself.
And then 2 more after death?
Yes. The bardo of dharmata, this is a crucial one, a potentially liberating but very brief experience of the ultimate nature, the clear light that can flash momentarily right after the consciousness leaves the body. And finally, the bardo of existence, or becoming, which is the process leading to rebirth in the next life, driven by remaining karma.
And just like the big collapse between eons, each of these bardos is separated from the next by some kind of bifurcation process, a break.
Exactly. There's a cessation of one state before the next one fully begins. Dying is the most obvious bifurcation, the end of the bardo of this life.
But also falling asleep and dreaming, or waking up.
Yes. Entering deep meditation is another, waking from a dream. Each transition involves a kind of mini collapse and reboot of the conscious state. And the danger, from this perspective,
is that if you don't recognize the clear light, the underlying reality during these transition points,
then the karmic wind just keeps blowing. It carries the stained tendencies, the habits, the attachments, right through that gap from one segmented bardo state into the next one, usually into the bardo of existence, leading straight to another rebirth, perpetuating the whole cycle of suffering.
Okay. So the ultimate aim of the whole Vajrayana path, then, is to break free from these limitations, to shatter the constraints of the bardos, eliminate these conventional time-space karmic contaminates.
And fundamentally open up your being, your space-time, to the 5th dimension. The goal isn't just to understand the eternal now moment, it's to become time as the eternal now moment.
How do the practices actually do that? What are the methods?
The Vajrayana practices are incredibly precise, often working directly with the subtle body, the Dharmakaya, to reconfigure energy and consciousness. Broadly speaking, the core purification methods fall into 2 main categories.
Okay, what's the first type?
The first are often called separative methods. Think of these as ways to reveal what's already there.
Uncovering the clear light.
Exactly. Revealing the pre-existent Buddha nature, the innate clear light that's always present but just covered up by the mud, by the defilements. These practices don't try to create enlightenment, they try to peel away what obscures it.
Like cleaning a dirty window.
Or clearing clouds to see the blue sky that was always there. Famous examples include things like the 6 yogas of Naropa. The strategy is often to find and then learn to stabilize your awareness in the cracks or gaps within the ordinary stream of consciousness.
Gaps. Where do we find these gaps?
Because these gaps are momentary windows, brief glimpses into the clear light, the 5D reality. They occur naturally between states of being.
Like between eons, but on a microscale.
Precisely. The most profound gap, of course, is the one between life and death, the bardo of dharmata. But we get little windows all the time, between being awake and falling asleep, or between the end of an exhalation and the start of the next inhalation.
Ah, the pause between breaths.
Right. And even in moments of, let's say, intense physiological transition or disruption, the texts mention the gap between a state of deep calm and a sudden moment of intense pleasure, like orgasm, or even something as mundane as a sneeze.
A sneeze? Really?
Any moment that briefly shatters the ordinary, continuous flow of contaminated 4D consciousness can potentially allow a micro glimpse of the underlying 5D clear light. The practice is about learning to recognize these moments and then stabilize the mind enough to actually dwell in that gap, to widen it.
Fascinating. It brings a kind of physical, temporal precision to the path. Okay, so that's separative methods. What's the other type? Produced effects.
Right. Produced effects, which often involves deity yoga. This is less about uncovering what's already there and more about actively generating the qualities of direct realization.
Oh.
Through highly focused visualization practices, mantra recitation, specific rituals, often tailored to particular bardo states you want to master. Here, the practitioner uses the clear light itself, or the glimpse of it they've gained, as the raw material, the energy source.
Uses the clear light to do what?
To actively generate the refined energetic pattern of a Buddha's body, speech, and mind within their own subtle body. They're essentially aligning themselves with the blueprint of the alternative Kalachakra.
So they're using the 5D reality to consciously reshape their 4D experience.
That's a great way to put it. Through rigorous visualization, they temporarily become, in an energetic sense, the purified form of a Buddha or a specific deity associated with certain enlightened qualities.
Why do that?
It does a few things. It purifies obstacles, builds positive potential, and crucially, it prepares the practitioner for mastery of the bardos. It trains them to be able to act, even in confusing or intense states like dying or rebirth, with skillful means that are anchored in the non-local wisdom of the fifth dimension, rather than being swept away by the old, contaminated 4D habits and fears.
Right. Now, we absolutely have to mention something critical here. These practices, especially Dita Yoga, this isn't just self-help, is it? The texts stress the role of empowerment and the guru.
Oh, absolutely essential. This is not something you just pick up from a book. The source material is adamant. A prerequisite for engaging authentically in these advanced Vajrayana practices is receiving a ripening empowerment, or initiation wang in Tibetan, from a fully qualified guru, a spiritual master.
It's not optional.
Not optional. It's considered the necessary starting point. The empowerment serves as a ritual cleansing and, crucially, a direct transmission of the potential for realization from the guru to the disciple.
What does it actually do for the practitioner?
Its main purpose is to give the practitioner a direct, undeniable experiential taste of their own original wakefulness, their own innate Buddha nature. It does this by momentarily clearing away some of the thickest layers of defilement, the habitual fixations on conventional reality that normally obscure the clear light.
So it's like getting a preview.
A preview, a spark, a seed. The texts use the analogy of enthroning a prince. The prince always had the royal capacity, the innate potential to rule, the Buddha nature. But the coronation ceremony, the empowerment, awakens, validates, and formally installs that capacity.
And the guru's blessing is key.
The guru's blessing or realization acts like a catalyst. It generates what's called a breakthrough self by stimulating the latent conditions for healing and insight within the disciple, allowing them to glimpse their true nature, maybe just for an instant. But that glimpse plants a fertilized seed of clear light realization. It's something the conventional mind and body can't completely forget, and it kickstarts the long process of ripening that seed through ongoing practice.
And the sources are really clear, aren't they? That the effectiveness isn't just down to the ritual itself. It depends heavily on the connection.
Entirely. It hinges on the strength of the meeting between the master's blessing and the disciple's devotion. Deep trust, openness, and receptivity on the disciple's part are crucial for the transmission to really take root.
Okay, so assuming one receives empowerment, practices diligently, starts to stabilize these states, what happens? The texts talk about paranormal powers emerging.
Yes, as a natural side effect, a sign of progress on the path through continuous ripening and gaining stable access to the fifth dimension, the practitioner naturally starts to develop what are called the 6 special powers, or supramundane realizations. Abhijja. These transcend conventional limits.
Like what?
Things like the divine eye, seeing things far away or in other realms. Recollection of past lives, which obviously solves the Sariputra recognition problem quite naturally. Knowledge of others' minds. Miraculous abilities, things like that.
But the Buddha himself downplayed these, right?
He did. He acknowledged they arise, but considered them potential distractions. He famously said that the greatest power, the greatest miracle, was the miracle of instruction. The ability to skillfully guide others towards their own liberation. That was the real point.
Makes sense. Now, to actually achieve a steady perception of these subtle states, to hold on to the awareness of the inner clear light without wavering, to make that fifth dimension perspective continuous, the practitioner has to overcome some specific mental hurdles.
Yes, there's a list of 11 specific imperfections, or subtle obstacles, that tend to arise when the mind starts trying to stabilize itself in these very subtle, profound states. They're the common pitfalls when trying to handle the sheer vastness and unfamiliarity of the clear light.
Can you give some examples? What do these feel like in practice? It's not just obvious bad habits, is it?
No, they're much subtler. For instance, uncertainty. This isn't broad philosophical doubt. It's specifically doubting whether the inner light or blissful state you're experiencing is real or just, your imagination working overtime.
Okay.
Or inattention, not just daydreaming, but the specific inability to keep your focus gently resting on the subtle energy channels of the arising light. Then there's lethargy or dullness. This isn't just sleepiness. It's a heavy, sinking clouding quality that can overcome the mind precisely when it encounters deep peacefulness. The mind mistakes profundity for blankness.
And then things like anxiety and fright. That seems odd when aiming for bliss.
It happens. Anxiety and fright can arise when the ordinary sense of a solid, separate self starts to dissolve in the face of the non-duality and the sheer immense spaciousness of the fifth dimension. It can feel like annihilation to the ego, triggering panic.
And then there are opposite problems, too, like getting too excited.
Exactly. Excessive elation, getting kind of drunk or intoxicated by the bliss or clarity itself, losing the point. Or excessive longing, becoming attached to the feeling of the light or the state, rather than recognizing its underlying empty nature. And paradoxically, even attachment to the method itself, excessive meditation on those forms, clinging to the visualizations or techniques that got you there, preventing you from letting go into the state itself.
So mastering these 11 imperfections is about achieving stability.
It's about stabilizing consciousness so you can hold these subtle 5D states without being thrown off balance by either dullness or excitement, fear, or attachment. It's how the intermittent glimpse of clear light found in the gaps or generated through practice eventually evolves into an unhindered, continuous, stable state of full realization.
Wow. Okay, so we have really covered some ground today. We've journeyed from our familiar, conventional, four-dimensional world, a world limited by these karmic segments, the bardos, and punctuated by these catastrophic eonic collapses.
Right. A world that seems linear and solid, but is actually discontinuous and illusory.
All the way to this non-dualistic five-dimensional universe, the realm of the clear light.
And we've seen how the whole system of the Kalachakra Tantra, coupled with these rigorous Vajrayana practices, provides the structural framework, the actual mechanism for accessing this deeper, non-local foundation of reality.
And it's this clear light, this fifth dimension, that collapses the apparent distance between eons. It resolves the Sariputra paradox by allowing for that simultaneous knowing of events across what seem like insurmountably different conventional space-time.
Exactly. It shows how perception can operate outside the normal rules of 4D causality.
And the final, really profound implication in all this, for you listening, for the learner engaging with these ideas, is the potential shift in self-understanding. The realization that the individual self isn't just some passive observer object floating in time.
But that you are time, in a fundamental sense.
Yeah.
Your self-reflection, your intention, your activity, the way you stain those subtle winds, is continuously actively producing your own local, present space-time instant. Right now.
Which means, ultimately, that suffering isn't just something imposed on you by an external, unstoppable flow of time.
No. It's generated internally by the attachments, the distinctions, the delusions that keep obscuring the fact that you are already inherently part of that eternal now moment, that clear light foundation. The wisdom isn't about finding eternity somewhere else. It's about realizing you already are eternity, just covered by mud.
So let's leave you with this thought. If the clear light mind, your basic nature, is like pure, transparent water, and conventional reality, all the suffering, the karma, the attachments, the fixed ideas, is like dirt, just temporarily clouding that water.
And if practice provides the methods to allow that dirt to settle, to separate it out and reveal the innate clarity, the Buddha nature that was always there,
then what specific patterns of attachment, what fixed distinctions, what habitual ways of seeing yourself in the world in your own conventional experience right now? What might be acting as your dirt? What might be continuously obscuring your own ultimate reality, preventing your recognition of the five-dimensional universe that is, according to this, your true foundational core?
That's definitely a question to sit with. What's muddy in your water?
Thank you for diving deep with us today on this complex journey.
Yeah, thanks for exploring it with us.